Hello Natterers, I'm Fatima and welcome to episode 6 of Knitknacker Natters. This is a crafting podcast which focuses predominantly on knitting, crochet, the occasional spinning, although that's pretty much on hiatus at present, and any other crafty stuff that I might be getting up to. I'm coming to you from Singapore. As you might be able to tell, I'm not Singaporean. I'm originally from the UK. And I've been here nearly 6 months. So during the episode, I usually share some of my experiences about kind of living in Far East Asia and different cultural aspects which I think are of interest. That's not going to be the case today, but I'll tell you more about it later on. Okay, so who am I and where can you find me? Like I said, my name's Fatima and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram and Periscope, although I don't Periscope, as Knitknacker Natters. Oh, actually, that's a lie. It's not at all Knitknacker Natters. It's Knitknacker. Okay, it's one of those days. So welcome everyone, welcome to all of those who are checking the podcast out for the first time. I hope you stick around, I hope you enjoy it, and a huge heartfelt thank you to all those people who come back every couple of weeks. You guys are what motivates me to keep carrying on. So huge thank you to you guys. I should say a specific thank you to 3 podcasters that I know that have mentioned this podcast in the last couple of weeks, so since our last one. And first off is Grace of Babel's Travelling Yarns, and I've gotten to know Grace a little bit more over the last few weeks because we've been chatting on Instagram, and we've been I've been joining her Periscope. She is my inspiration for most things, but especially when it comes to spinning, because you've just got to check out her podcast and you will see her spinning journey. It's pretty much amazing, and I was just kind of messaging her today to say, oh my god, I feel like I need to start spinning again, but more about that later. So that's lovely Grace. Thank you very much, Grace, for mentioning my podcast. The next person is Marsha of the Twitch and Stitch podcast, and she's one of the first, or hers was one of the first podcasts that I started watching on a regular basis. She's an amazing garment knitter, amazing sock knitter. So she was one of the 2 people who had the sockathon in January this year. 35 pairs in 1 month, amazing. So you've got to check her out. And then the 3rd person was Barbara from Knitting I Love. Barbara put the Knitknacker Natters into the jar. So for those of you who don't know, Into the Jar is a segment that she does once a month where she puts podcasts that she's been watching and she's enjoyed into a jar, and I think it's once a month that they get picked out actually. Once a month she shuffles all the entries and picks out one podcaster whom she sends some of the things that she makes, and you should check out her shop for sure, that can be then gifted back to you guys. So she is hilarious, and I think on my last podcast I mentioned that I was foraying into tech editing, and that I had worked with a couple of designers, and she was one of them, and she kind of mentioned my tech editing on her last episode. I'm a little bit pernickety, and Barbara, I was basically applying everything that I was learning to your design. So she's hilarious, she's so funny, and she's so much fun, so do go and check her out. But thank you to you guys for mentioning me, and for mentioning me. Okay, what admin stuff do I have? I'm sorry, I'm just glancing over at my show notes because too much running through there at the moment. Oh yes, so last time round I announced the winner of my 100 subscribers giveaway, and it was Melody. Melody hasn't gotten in touch with me. I have messaged you on Instagram to Melody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her until next episode, until I film next episode, to get in touch with me. But Melody, if you're not able to, I will at that point redraw and give the prize to somebody else. So Melody, please, please, please try and get in touch with me, because you're missing out on this gorgeous game of hedgehog fibers. So that was that. The other thing to mention is that I'm running a cal at the moment. It's called the To Be or Not To Be cal. Bee being the animal bee or insect, animal insect. And it's a bee themed cal, so anything that's bee related can be knit or crocheted for the purpose of the cal, which runs until the 31st of October. I will be closing the thread. There are 2 threads in my Ravelry group, which is Knitknacker Natters podcast in the forums. So I will be closing the 2 threads when I wake up on the 1st of November. So you have a chance to get in. I should say that Singapore time is 8 hours plus GMT, 7 hours plus BST, and on the whole about a couple of hours behind Australia and about 12 hours, give or take, in front of the US. So it might not be kind of the 1st of November where you are when I close it, but it will be where I am. Okay, so that's about the threads. Like I said, it's bee related, so anything pretty much goes. Something that's got bee in the name, honeycomb, hives, honey. Is it a yarn that reminds you of bees? Are you knitting or crocheting bees? That's what Grace is doing. She is crocheting some bees. And is it the yarn? Is the yarn bee themed or honey themed or honeycomb themed? Get involved. It doesn't have to be a big project. We've already got some projects in the FO thread, and we've got a variety of things. So we've got some items that are knit, crocheted. We've got an item that's been knit and then embroidered. So you should definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. I've got a bee themed project going on as well. I did show some of the prizes last time round, but I had said that I was waiting for some yarn that I had commissioned from Joan of my yarn story company on Etsy. I'll put the link below. And I had given you a preview of one of the skeins that would be a prize for the giveaway on my Instagram account. So I received a parcel pretty much after I finished podcasting, and I have the skeins that I'm going to be giving away here. I'm going to show them to you now. I'm not going to show the rest of the stuff. You can check it out. You can check out the prices in my group. I will probably show them again next episode. So, where is her stuff? So when I was working with Joan on what I kind of wanted, she's a new dyer based in Singapore, and she had literally opened her store about a week a week before I kind of got in touch with her. And she tends to use natural dyes as much as possible, and when I was kind of chatting with her about what it was that I wanted, and she kind of was trying to describe what she had in mind from my ideas, I kind of got a bit greedy. And when she asked me, so it's 2 skeins that you want, I went, can you make it 3? So I decided to keep 1. Now I'm going to show you the one that I wanted to keep, but this is the one that I previewed, so I feel like I'm obliged to give it away in the giveaway. But this is probably my favourite one, and it's called Honeycomb. So it's tonal, it's got yellows and creams and browns and speckling. It's gorgeous. And it goes from pale to darker, richer colours. It is really, really pretty. And like I said, it's called Honeycomb, and it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 464 yards, 425 meters in 100 grams. So I think whoever gets this is so lucky. I am so jealous. I might have to ask her to make me another one of these, but I can't for some time, or about that later. So that's one of the skeins, and then the other skein is called Acacia Honey. It's possibly a little bit darker, it's not quite so pale in real life. But again, a tonal yarn, which is really pretty. And again, the same base, same yardage. Oops! I'll do that later. So those are 2 of the yarn prizes that are going to be in the giveaway. I'm not going to show you mine yet. I'm going to show you mine a bit later. So that's that. So that's our to be or not to be Cal. Join in. It doesn't have to be a big project. I know people are really busy with kind of ongoing projects, or they're kind of starting their Christmas knitting. So like I said, it doesn't have to be a big project. It can be anything, so long as you can justify how it relates to the theme of the cow. And one last thing, it's October, guys, and October is my birthday month. In celebration of my birthday month, I've decided that I'm going to do a weekly giveaway of a pattern to lucky viewers. All you need to do is actually be a member of my Ravelry group to qualify, and then every week I will use the random number I will use the random number generator and let you know on the podcast and through Ravelry who the lucky winner is, and you just need to message me back with what pattern you would like, up to $5. So I thought I'd kickstart it off today, and I've actually done the random generator. I've actually done the random number generator thing. I'm sorry, I can't say it fast. Last night because I just couldn't wait. And the lucky winner is Phyllis. Phyllis Lowe on Ravelry. I actually know Phyllis. I'm WhatsApp friends with Phyllis. She's from Singapore, and she has recently knit a gorgeous shawl in some yarn by Joan, and I can't remember the name of the shawl. But pop over to my group and then pop over to her account to take a look. So Phyllis, get in touch with me. I'm going to WhatsApp you as well. but get in touch with me and let me know what pattern you'd like, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so moving on, FOs. I actually have an FO, and I'm wearing it, so you can't really see because I'm sitting on the floor. Let me see if I can get up. There we go. So this is the test knit that I showed you guys last episode, called the Folia Triangle Shawl by Amy Vandelar. And I finished it on the day, blocked it on the day. I'm still waiting to take proper photos of it. It was supposed to happen last weekend, but last weekend turned out to be very busy in the end, so I couldn't. But do check out her pattern on Ravelry. So I should say, before I show you guys this, that Amy's pattern has both written instructions and charts. I will always go first to written instructions. That's just me. I will only look at charts if I feel there's a problem, not vice versa. And I was knitting along, and there was actually nothing wrong with the pattern. As the pattern goes, it was just a mistake in the wording, so in the written instructions. But I didn't pick up on that because I hadn't looked at the chart first. So let me show you what I'm talking about before I carry on. So this is my shawl, and this is the lace work, which is actually quite simple and straightforward. So as you can see, it is bigger than my wingspan. It's a triangular shawl which is supposed to have a V-shaped lace motif in the middle. It's got a stitch, so lovely and squishy. Now can you tell what the problem is? Yep, it's supposed to be equal on both sides, and it's not. So I think when I was test knitting it, one of the issues, it's kind of knit in sections, and one of the earlier sections asks you to place a marker in an area that's supposed to be where kind of some of the stitches start to slant or something. And in the end, when you get to the final section, it allows you to divide equally the two stems of the V. Now, I had started on the stems of the V, and I was like, there's not something's not right, because I couldn't tell beforehand that it wasn't what was supposed to happen, if that makes sense. And by the time that I got on to the last section where I was just doing the V's, I was a little bit loath to rip it out. So I wasn't sure if it was me that was the problem, because I had been messing with said stitch marker just to get the pattern count right, and Amy had a look at her written instructions and said actually that was something that needed to be corrected. So I had an option of just ripping back a little bit, not all the way back, and adjusting the final row before I split, or I could just carry on. And to be honest, I had like a day and a half or 2 days to finish it. I hate ripping back at the best of times. I definitely hate ripping back lace because I feel like I'm not always going to be picking up the right stuff. I'm getting better, so I kind of decided just to carry on. So I have a slightly asymmetrical V in my Folia triangle shawl, but it's still amazing. And to be honest, once you're wearing it, you can't really tell. It's just if you have it up here and you look at it for longer than a few seconds that you realise it's gaping in the middle. I'm not sure why. So yeah, and this colorway, oh gosh, I've forgotten what the colorway is called. Bear with me. I have written it down. Oh no, I haven't written it down. Okay, I will insert here the colourway name, but it's yarn by Circus Tonic Handmade, an Australian dyer, Hannah, and it's really pretty. It's like a white or creamy base with speckles of blues and purples and reddy pinks and greens, and I love it. I love the colourway. I love the shawl too, despite the fact that it's not perfect. It's still pretty amazing. I'm not really sure what that noise was, by the way. So yeah, that's my FO. She also has, she's got a series of folia patterns, so she's got a cowl with the same stitch pattern. So yeah, do check that. It's warm, so I'm taking it off because I'm wearing a sweater as well. Today is quite overcast here in Singapore, which always seems to happen. I either have really bright days when I decide to film, or it's very overcast. But that's just the way it is, I'm afraid. Okay, moving on to my whips. Now this is something that you guys haven't seen in a while, and it's my talisman shawl. Talisman shawl is part of the Shawl Society series of patterns by Helen Stewart of the Curious Handmade audio podcast, and it's a really lovely pattern, very straightforward knit, kind of stockinette body. I think it's a triangle shawl in the end, with some patterning in sections, and when I last showed it to you several episodes ago, I was, oh gosh, there's no progress keeper, it's not very well planned. I was probably about here, and yeah, so I decided to pick it up earlier in the week or over the weekend because I just thought, you know what, I was on a high actually from having finished the folia shawl, and I just thought, you know what, I can knock this out because I'm not that far off the end. I had about 25% of the shawl left to do. So I took it out and I started, and I got as far as the border, so I'm about to start the border. And I looked at my yarn, and that's how much I have left. Now I have just under 20%, I have about 17 or 18% of the shawl left, and I only have 8 grams of my yarn. So I had the option of continuing and just seeing how far I got, but I thought that probably wasn't very wise, especially because towards the end I think the stitch count goes up by 100 stitches, and I just thought it's just not going to happen with this. I should mention this is Festival of Lights. I haven't knit with it in so long that I can't remember. This is Festival of Lights by Molly of Homespun House. If you can see, I love this. Series of greens, pale green, dark green, some reds. The occasional speckles of yellow as well. And it's on her Bachen base, which is an MCN, I should add. So I had a dilemma. What do I do? I had a look through my stash and I didn't think I could find anything that was close enough to it to do the border in a different colour. And I asked you lovely people on Instagram what you thought I should do or how I should proceed. And some people were saying that I could do it, the border, because I'm at the border, in a different colour. Some people suggested that I get another skein of the yarn that I'm using, but obviously it's an indie dyed skein, so it might be off. And I think someone even suggested ripping it back and starting the border earlier. Now, ripping it back would mean doing some knitting maths, and I'm not bad at maths. I just have never done knitting maths, and I just wanted to get it off the needles, to be honest. So I decided to get in touch with the dyer and take it from there. Explained my situation and said, A, do you have any tonals that would work with Festival of Lights? Any recommendations? And B, if you don't, would you be able to, or do you have any skeins of this particular colourway? She actually got back to me last night and has suggested some tonals to take a look at. None of them are on an MCN base, and I'm just wondering if changing the base is going to affect the shawl in any way. I think most of her, I think she's got some single plies, and she has some sock yarn, so some merino nylon blends. I know Molly, in fact, herself on one of her podcasts has said that single ply yarn is good to do shawl knitting with. I'm just wondering how it will go with this particular yarn. So if anyone has any suggestions, recommendations, advice, please feel free to jot it down in the comments below, or message me on Instagram, or even message me in Ravelry, because I'm really stuck. I'm stuck with which tones to use. So I might even kind of pop on Instagram the colourways that she has that she said would potentially go with this, and let me know what you guys think. I'm leaning towards like a pinky colour. I think there's a pinky one and there's a greeny one, but let's see. I think it's called Light Tea. And let me know what you think. The problem that I have also is that this now involves buying a second skein of yarn, and I am on an enforced yarn diet. To go off on a tangent, I was on Instagram last week, and Nessa of the Celtic Craft podcast had posted about signing up to Knit1000g, and I was intrigued, so I decided to find out a bit more about it. And it's basically an initiative that's been started by another podcaster, where you have to knit 1000 grams, knit, crochet, weave, spin, I think spin as well, 1000 grams from your stash before you can buy any more yarn. And I just thought it was fantastic, because I've possibly been a little bit off the charts with my spending at the moment, and I'm not working, so I really do need to pace myself, and I have quite a bit of yarn that I could potentially knit from. I also have lots of whips that really need to be finished, and whips are allowed in this. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to sign up to this because if nothing else, it's going to motivate me to get things off my needles, and maybe start projects with things that I already have, because I have some skeins that I've already kind of allocated to particular projects, and I thought maybe that's just the way it's going to have to be, because otherwise I get tempted way too easily by all you amazing podcasters and all you amazing makers out there, and lo and behold, the minute I kind of signed up for this, or said that I was signing up for this, Legacy Fiber Arts put up a post saying that they were having another update on their kind of elf based yarns, and I was like, oh, I'd forgotten all about this, wrong timing. But there are so many other people that have put up updates, and I was just like, this is not fair. So anyway, going back to the question at hand, I need to get a second skein for this. Now, does this mean that this goes back into hibernation until I've knit 1,000 grams? Because I can't actually buy any more yarn. Or, because this is for an ongoing project, does it count? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm tempted to say this needs to go back into hibernation just to kind of stick to the rules. But I'm also worried that the colourways that Molly has suggested would go with this particular colourway are no longer going to be available. Or maybe I can get my husband to get it for me. I don't know. I don't know how to play it, but I feel like in order to stick to knit 1,000 grams, I can't buy any yarn at present, even if it is for an ongoing project. What are your thoughts? So, what am I knitting this on? You ask. I want to say 4mm needles, but I don't remember. This is how long it's been, and obviously my show notes leave a little to be desired. 3.75mm needles. So it's knit on Knit Picks vessels. I think nowadays they're called Novas, but I don't think they were called Novas when I initially bought them. It's a very old set, almost 8 years old, and I enjoy working with them. So yeah, that's my talisman shawl, which I'd love to finish. It's not going to be finished by next time, because even if I were to order some yarn or get someone to order some yarn for me, Molly's based in Germany, so I'm not going to get it for at least a few weeks. So I have a feeling that this is possibly going to go into hibernation until I have finished my knit 1,000 grams, and then we'll be picked up again. Yeah, so it definitely won't be a finished object by next week. I should mention the bag because it's very cute and it's by Huloko. So yeah. Second thing up, in my Alexandra Mackenzie bag, it's my drawstring London bag, I have my Hotel of Bees. So I've been showing this to you guys for a couple of weeks now, or maybe it was just last week. I really need to keep track of what I'm showing you guys. And the Hotel of Bees, it's a crocheted shawl, which I fell in love with because I felt I was re-enthused by crochet, the world of crochet, but I often think crochet shawls look pretty much the same. I might be completely wrong, but they all have very similar patterns, and this one just looked very different, and yeah, I decided I wanted to knit it, crochet it, and it went from there. So I think the last time that I showed this to you, it has grown. Let me move this to the back. Oh, I'm showing you the wrong side. There we go. So it's an asymmetrical shawl. I don't know if you can see there. That's probably better in terms of seeing the different sections. And I was down here making these last time round. So I have done the next section, which is called Open Honeycomb. Maybe that's not the open honeycomb. It's a honeycomb section. It's different from this honeycomb section, which I think is so pretty, and it's going to be even prettier when it's blocked because it's not so obvious at the moment. And I am now doing the wing section again, which is this section down here. So it's basically a series of sections, and then after the first big section it kind of gets repeated in smaller intervals, or shorter intervals. I'm enjoying it, but I kind of wish it was finished, and part of the reason is that I started this around the same time as Kelly of I'm Yarn Inspired, and she is just as Speedy Gonzalez. She was around the same place as me and is now finished. So I kind of feel like I need it to be finished. But I think the shawl is obviously getting smaller, and the sections are smaller as well. So I think I'd like to say that it's gonna be a finished object by next time round. I think it definitely will be. That's gonna be something that I'm gonna aim towards. I am doing this in a sport weight yarn in Crochet's Stonewashed. It's actually a 3-colour shawl. I'm just not onto the 3rd colour yet. So I've got this creamy colour and then the blue, and they are called Blue Appetite and Moonstone. Yeah, Moonstone. And I don't know if I'd want to knit with it, but it's nice to crochet with. Has anyone ever knit with this yarn before? What's it like? It's a cotton acrylic blend, so it should be good for the weather here. I'm thinking it probably would be more suited, especially the sport weight, to like a throw or something, because to be honest, and I don't know if this is because I'm using a 3mm hook, it's quite tight and it feels very dense and quite warm. So although it's a cotton acrylic blend, I don't know how much everyday use I'd get out of this. I think this might have to be a kind of take it to the cinema shawl, just like any of my wool shawls would be. But yeah, so that's whip number 2, and whip number 3 is a new cast on. So I wanted to make birthday socks. I don't know why. I don't knit socks very often, but I wanted to make birthday socks, and I actually wanted to do it from one of my Lulu Did It yarns. I think it's called Welcome to the Jungle, just because I thought it was very apt. And lo and behold, I'm in the middle of a row. I didn't end up doing that because the Welcome to the Jungle yarn needed caking, and my little boy's been very, very poorly for the last couple of weeks. He's been hit by flu and now a vomiting bug, so it seemed extra faffy to have to wind something up. So I thought, I still want to make socks. What can I grab? And I have some Knit Picks Felici. I have several colorways of Knit Picks Felici that I got in one of their updates last year when I was expecting. I had it waiting for me in London when I arrived. And this is the Candy Jar colorway, which I loved in this game. Ball. I'm not so sure about as I'm knitting it up. But this was there and I just thought, okay, I can pull this out. And to jazz it up, let's not do vanilla socks, let's do a pattern. So I decided to do the cobblestone pattern by Bina Phillip. And to mix it up even more, I decided to use DPNs. Rather, I couldn't find a 2.25mm fixed needle that was more than 40 centimeters, which I can't do magic loop on, and I tend to do my socks magic loop. So let me just finish this, knit this row. I'm actually using Knit1000g's DPNs, and I like the needles. I just don't like DPNs. And I wanted to be one of those first-time knitters that could do both. I mean, I can do both, I just don't necessarily enjoy both, and I feel that by using DPNs, I'm even slower than I normally am when I'm knitting. So I actually enjoy using the needles themselves, just not the fact that they're DPNs. So this is how much I have done so far. I cast on 60 stitches, and this is the cobblestone pattern, which is really easy to remember, which was perfect for what I had in mind. It was for like doctor's visits and kind of MRT, so tube knitting, because with a baby I just need something that's kind of quick and easy. I don't love how the colours are coming together in the actual sock. I mean, it's okay, but I can't say that these will be like a favourite pair. I feel like it's a bit too garish in the sock, whereas I like it in the ball, which is silly because it's pretty much the same thing. I think maybe if the colour changes were shorter, I might prefer it. I'm not sure. I like the yarn. I like working with the yarn. This is the first time that I've worked with it, and I'm liking the pattern. I'm liking the needles, just not the DPN side of things. So yeah, and I'm using one of my progress keeper here is a bee, which is one of the prizes. This is mine, but there is a prize from Love by Little Matt. Focusing issues again. Is that better? It's such a pretty progress keeper, and I thought it was quite apt for the socks. So this is how much I've done. I think I'm going to do another full kind of colourway repeat before I start doing the heel, and I'm just going to do a Fish Lips Kiss heel. That said, Mina includes I think a German short row heel, so maybe I'll give it a go. These are not going to be finished by my birthday because my birthday is on the 14th of October, and these are just taking a little bit too long. My other option is to switch out the needles and find a cable needle and put them onto there, but I don't know if it will change the gauge. I will in future, I have to say, get some 2.25mm knit prosing fixed needles for magic looping socks, because they're blunter than the needles I usually use, so that I tend to knit socks on my kind of favoured needle is the Addy Laces. Shock horror. I've only tried a couple. I've tried some bamboo DPNs when I first started, and I've tried Addy Laces, and I think some kind of Knit Pro metal ones that I didn't love, and then these, and even though they're a lot blunter than the lace ones, and I like the lace ones because they've got sharper tips, it's very easy to maneuver on these, and I do enjoy knitting with them. I'm just not keen on the DPNs. Also, I don't have a DPN cozy, so I'm always really worried that I'm going to lose stitches, and because of how I've split, and maybe this is where maybe I should split things differently, but I've split the stitches over 3 needles so that they're equal. Maybe what I need to do is actually have the front of the sock on 1 needle, and then the back of the sock over 2. That probably makes more sense. What was I going to say? Why was I telling you this? Oh, I think it means the reason I was saying this was because on needle number 2 I then got a bit of patterning and then a bit of kind of stockinette, and I think I did the patterning a bit wrong, and had to rip back, but I felt more confident ripping back because I'm a Bakery Bears patron and Kay had done a tutorial on ripping back, which I used, which I looked at and used, and it worked out absolutely fine. I didn't drop any stitches, it was all cool, and they were in the right orientation. So that's my last whip at the moment. I've got quite a few outstanding whips, which I'm hoping I'll be motivated to kind of continue with, just because, well, actually I have some deadlines, but also because of Knit1000g. But I am kind of wanting to cast on other things too. So one of the things I had mentioned last time round was a sweater or cardigan for myself in the fingering weight. I think I had the Secatonic Handmade yarn, and I kind of said if people could recommend some patterns, and I had quite a few suggestions like the Madewell, the Grace cardigan. Now I was looking at the Grace cardigan. It was actually recommended by Grace, but I think she had meant a different Grace cardigan to the one that I was looking at, and the one that I was looking at was the one that she had looked at. Very complicated, but basically I think there are more than one Grace patterns, or patterns called Grace on Ravelry, and we had both looked at the same pattern, but she was actually recommending an alternate pattern, and the Grace cardigan that I was looking at basically has, I think, quite a thick cable down the back. It's longer. I prefer longer cardies, and yeah, so that was one of the cardigans that I was quite drawn to. But she mentioned that you have to, because I don't know if you have to buy it. I think it's a paid for pattern. I think you have to knit the cable and then pick up stitches, and everyone knows I hate picking up stitches. So I've kind of not looked into it any further at present. The Madewell, I'm not sure, because to me it looks very similar to the featherweight, and I have yarn for a featherweight, and I really want to cast that on at some point. but again, I'd need to do a swatch, and I didn't feel like swatching this week. The other thing that I was thinking of doing, not in kind of fingering weight, was my little boy's Gramps cardie. I have the yarn for that. I don't feel like I need to do a swatch. I have swatched for other Tinker Knits patterns, and this is a different yarn to the one recommended. It's Malabrigo Rios that I want to do his in. Actually, it's one of the recommended yarns. I just don't know if my gauge will be slightly different. But I feel I can get away without doing a gauge swatch for his cardie. So I might, it's also because it's a thicker yarn, I feel like it's going to go by a lot faster, and I'll be much more motivated to kind of do other things. And then one of the other things that I want to do is I want to do something for the colourwork cal that Katie of Inside 23, number 23, and Marsha of the Twitch and Stitch podcast are hosting for this month. I've never done colourwork. It scares me. I know there's different types of colourwork. I knit English style, and I'm a thrower, not a flicker, a thrower. And so kind of how I'm going to be holding the yarn is a little bit daunting, but I thought this was my opportunity to give it a go. I'm not aiming for a finished product by the end of October, by the end of the cal. I just, was it end of October or end of November? I'm not 100% sure, but I just wanted to have that kind of opportunity to give it a go, and hopefully chat with other people that are doing colourwork patterns, and get some motivation if I get stuck. So I was perusing, and I really want to knit mittens, and I think I've picked out a pattern that possibly is a bit more complicated. Well, it is and it's not. It's more intricate. I don't know if it's going to be more complicated because it only uses 2 colours. And what's it called? It's called Grey-Eyed Mittens. And I just think they're really pretty, and the pattern will motivate me to continue with them. There are some simpler patterns, or there's a simpler pattern that has been recently released by someone I follow on Instagram that I was also looking at, but that uses 3 colours. I don't think it's 3 colours in conjunction with each other. I think it's 2 colours at any one time. But I don't know if I have a 3rd colour in the right weight. And I'm not allowed to buy any more yarn. Are you getting the theme here? I'm not allowed to buy any more yarn. That seems to be something that I'm repeating very, very often in this episode. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking to work on, but I figure that I have to, if I cast something on, I have to pick up an old whip too, because otherwise I will have more whips and no FOs as usual. So that's the plan. I should move on to what lovely things that I have either gotten myself, well actually I've gotten them all myself. Some of them have been for specific projects, some of them have just been because it's my birthday and I can. That's been my excuse. So I'm going to start off with the yarn. There's one non-yarny thing, and it's from Joan. So this is the skein that I ended up keeping. Again tonal, again a mix of yellows and creams and browns with some speckling, but not as much as the skein that you guys are going to get. So it's similar, but not the same as that skein. and I have a couple of projects in mind that I think might look quite nice on this, and it's again in the same base. So that was, what was that? I'm not a yellow person, but this skein and the speckle skein that you guys are getting was just something I was really drawn to. I don't know that it would necessarily end up being something for me, but I loved it. So that's that. I also have the yarn that I got for the Colourwork Cow, and it's some Cascade Heritage, which is sock yarn, Cascade Heritage sock yarn. In a grey. It's looking slightly more blue on screen. This colourway is called Steel, although on the tag it's called 5602. And then a plum colour. It's looking a lot brighter. It's a tad darker in real life. And this colourway colour is 5632, and it's superwash. Where is it? Oh gosh! Oh, here. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. It's the first time that I'll be working with Cascade Heritage yarn. I'm quite excited. I've seen quite a few people use this yarn before. It feels like any sock yarn actually. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do the mittens in. Now, I can't quite decide, so you guys might be able to help me out, if purple should be my base colour, or the plum should be my base colour, or main colour rather, and the steel be the second colour, or the steel to be my main colour and to have that kind of accent. Initially I was leaning towards this being my main colour, but now I'm thinking this one. What do you guys think? So that's my Cascade Heritage. Oh, skein! So there is a very, very coveted yarn company called Skein in Australia that my friend Michelle, hey Michelle, kind of put me up to looking at, and I ordered yarn from there. This was the first yarn that I ordered in my birthday treat binge, so to speak, and I kept looking at the update. So they update every Friday, and their updates kind of sell out quite quickly, and Michelle had told me about it, and I was like, no, I just can't. And then I thought, you know what, it's not that far from October. I'll just make it an early birthday present to myself. And so I did. And I got two skeins. This one is called the Cat's Meow, and it's kind of cream with a peach, a tonal peach with some brown speckling. I don't know if you can, where's the best with the speckling? And it's in their top drawer sock base, which is the 4-ply 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 437 yards, 400 meters in 95 grams. By the time I convinced myself that I was allowed to buy something from the update, there wasn't much left, but I was quite drawn to this. So that was that one. And then the second one that I got is called Pixelated. So it's kind of light and dark grey with kind of speckles of pink and neon yellow and blue. Look at that. I love it. It's so cool. And it's their Merino Silk Sport, 4-ply sport, 50% merino and 50% silk, in 363 yards, 332 meters and 95 grams. And I fell in love with this, and I had to be able to justify buying it, and I bought it and kind of earmarked it for making the windswept shawl. But most of the windswept shawls that I have seen have been in a tonal or kind of single colour. I've not really seen any variegated. Now, to be fair, I can't really tell how this is going to play out. I feel like I need to cake it up before I'm going to be able to tell. I think it's just the right meterage for the pattern. So that's what it's earmarked for. So watch this space. I think that is the last of the yarn that I bought. The only other thing that I have, I say the only other thing, is a project bag. Who doesn't love project bags? This is a Woodlands project bag in kind of pink and red and orange, and totally not colours that I would normally buy. By Shannon of Socksetra. And it is huge. So I reckon I can probably use it for a large shawl, or a sweater, and I love it. I love the bottom. So again, not a sewist, a dream sewist. What is this fabric called? I don't know. I don't think Shannon watches this podcast, but if you ever do, or if anyone who has her bags does and knows, can you tell me what this is? It's not canvas. Is it canvas? But it's just lovely. I love it. So all the way from Canada. Yeah, so that's the last of my purchases. That have arrived this week. I think I still have a few birthday gifts to myself that I had put into motion before I signed up to Knit1000. So rest assured, I am sticking to my yarn diet. I am not buying any more yarn. So anything that you do see is either gifted to me or I've kind of bought prior to signing up to this. I think when I posted that I was going to be signing up to this on Instagram, quite a few of you said you wanted to join in. So by all means do. It's self-imposed, and I kind of want to see how much motivation I have and how much determination I have and how much willpower I have. I'm just wondering if actually now that I'm not buying yarn, I'm going to end up buying yarn adjacent stuff. The idea is, for me, in my head anyway, to kind of put a stop on spending for a bit. When I was working, I didn't feel like I had to justify every purchase, but now that I'm not, things are a little bit tighter. And I can't buy things just because they're pretty, or at least I shouldn't buy things just because they're pretty. And I think eventually I will be starting work up proper, but until then I'm kind of, like I said, foraying into tech editing, and when that picks up maybe I'll have some pocket money, but until then I think this will help, and I need you guys to kind of keep me on the straight and narrow because I get tempted. Who doesn't? I do. Okay, this is usually this usually brings me up to the point where I have a cultural segment, which I don't this time round. partly because I didn't have time to do some extra filming, and partly because it's October, and as most of you will be aware, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this is something that's very special to me. It always has been since I kind of first became aware of breast cancer when I was in school, and I kind of wanted to have a chat with you guys about breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm a doctor by profession, and I have practiced medicine in both the UK and in Brunei, and my job description varied slightly in both countries. So I've been born and brought up in the UK, I trained in the UK, I was working in the UK, and there I'm in general practice or family medicine, and we would deal with kind of acute problems and then ongoing comorbidities that people might have. So I didn't regularly deal with breast screening unless people were concerned because they developed lumps that they wanted me to check out, and then I might have to instigate a cancer protocol as and when. In Brunei, my job description was slightly different, although I did some kind of acute care work. I did a lot of acute care work actually, almost a little like A&E, or accident emergency, ER. Sorry, I was just trying to think what it is in different places. I did a lot of health screening, so it's pretty much health checks for people who are well, to help identify kind of illness early on, and it involves a lot of health education as well, which I enjoyed. And health education is different in every country because people's health beliefs are varied, and depend very much on where they've been brought up, their culture, their religion, their attitude towards medicine, their attitude towards health and fitness generally. So it was definitely eye-opening because in the UK, health education would probably be different, taught differently, and there would be different motivators, I think, for being more aware and more healthy than there were in Brunei. I can't really comment on how that is in Singapore, because I've not practiced medicine here. But going back to the point in hand, breast cancer or breast awareness is something that I was heavily involved with, especially in Brunei, and Breast Cancer Awareness Month, like I said, has always been very important to me because it's my birthday month, and it just seemed very apt to kind of be involved in this particular kind of campaign, being female, being a doctor. I also lost my closest friend to a complication of breast cancer about 6 weeks before I got married. Sorry, I didn't think I'd get emotional about this. I know there's a lot of you out there who either have friends or loved ones that have had breast cancer or have breast cancer at the moment, and most people are able to battle through and they get treatment in time. My friend self-diagnosed herself, but she was a health professional. She was a radiologist, in fact, and she kept talking herself out of her diagnosis, and so didn't go to get a formal diagnosis until she had an almost 10 centimetre mass in one of her breasts, and by then it was not a simple procedure of just removing it. She had spread, she had metastases, and she ended up having a mastectomy, which got infected, but she kind of worked through it, and actually from the moment she was diagnosed to the moment she died was a couple of years. She got through one episode of her, or yeah, I don't think it's called episode, one lot of her breast cancer. It recurred, and she kind of got through that, but then she got brain metastases and passed away from a complication. It all happened, the brain metastases side of things all happened very, very quickly. It was 2 weeks between her becoming symptomatic and her passing away. It was a very, very difficult time for me, especially in the run-up to my wedding, because I would say I became depressed as a result and didn't want to plan my wedding. And it highlighted the fact that breast cancer can occur to anyone. She doesn't have a family history of breast cancer. And although I've fundraised for it before and I've done lots of health education, it's kind of something that stays with me and will always stay with me, and so I cannot emphasize how important it is to just be aware of the signs and the symptoms, to get regular health checks, and just very quickly I wanted to mention that you're at risk of breast cancer if you're a woman or if you're a man. I don't know that there are any male kind of viewers out there, but don't assume that just because you're not female, you're not able to get breast cancer. You have breast tissue, therefore you can get breast cancer, and there's actually a particular gene associated with male breast cancer. So it is still worth being aware of the signs and the symptoms, kind of in particular to women, or in relation to women. Women tend to get lumpy breasts. You might naturally have lumpy breasts, so you might tend to get lumps in your breasts around your menstrual cycle. That is normal, but if you ever were to feel, or your partner was to feel, a breast in your lump, monitor it, and look out for kind of the signs that make it more likely to be something that is dangerous as opposed to something that's benign, i.e. not something that you need to be worried about. Women can get different types of lumps at within different age groups, and the type you're like I said before, you're more prone to breast cancer if you have a family history. So get screened, and the types of people that need to be screened are those who have maternal breast cancer on their maternal line, i.e. your mother, your sister, your grandmother. There doesn't appear to be a genetic link with your paternal side as much. So for those of you who have a risk already, please get screened regularly. And for those of you who aren't at risk but just want to be breast aware, check your breasts. I think different associations and guidelines would give different guidelines on how often to check your breasts. I don't think you need to be checking them every single day or even every week. I think monthly is fine, and one of the best places to check your breasts is in the shower. I think you're in the right position to do that. There are lots of guidelines on how to check your breasts online, so do check out check out the websites online. A lot of the charity websites, Cancer Research, Breast Awareness, they all have guidelines too. The kind of red light symptoms, really, that kind of indicate that this might not be an okay breast lump, are when you have an irregular hard lump? Has it changed in size? Is it getting bigger? Are you noticing any kind of skin changes, any overlying skin changes? So is there puckering? Is there that kind of orange peel cellulite effect happening on your breast tissue? An inversion of your nipple, any nipple discharge, so be it a green discharge, a mucousy discharge, a bloody discharge. If you're getting a milky discharge, that might be something completely different, especially especially if you're not kind of breastfeeding or pregnant. It's still worth seeing your doctor about it, because you might have some other hormonal imbalances which need further investigation, but doesn't relate to breast cancer itself. When you check your breasts, always check under your armpits as well, because tissues around the body have lymph nodes that they drain to during infections and inflammation, and when you have a tumour, and the lymph nodes directly related to your breast tissue are in the armpits. So make sure that you check your armpits too, and any lumps and bumps that feel abnormal or look abnormal should always be checked out by your doctor. If you're concerned, we're concerned. So, don't feel silly for going. It might be that we say to you, just keep an eye on things, and that we don't need to do anything about it at the moment. But get it checked out by somebody else if you have any concerns. There are different methods of screening your lump, and most people will be aware of mammography. Again, there are different guidelines of different countries. In the UK, we tend not to offer mammography for people until they're over the age of 50. And the reason for this is that mammography is very good at detecting breast cancer if your breast tissue if you don't have a lot of breast tissue. If you do have a lot of breast tissue, which is normal when you're younger, the breast tissue is just too dense to see everything clearly, and there are alternative screening methods available, so ultrasound if you're younger and at risk, or if you're younger and you found something. So there is always a way of looking for breast lumps. Mammography isn't always the best when you're younger though, so if someone turns you away from that, just be aware that there is a reason why, and they should always give you an alternative. So do ask for an alternative. If people do find a lump, or if your radiographer does find a suspicious lump, you will be sent for a fine needle biopsy, where they stick a needle in to take a few cells from the lump, and that gets analysed in the lab, because if it is a tumour, it needs to be staged. You need to identify at what stage of the cancer this is, how much it's spread, so that your doctor can put into place an appropriate treatment plan. That's kind of all I want to say. It's a little bit hot and heavy. I felt it was important. It's important to me, and I wanted to share that with you guys. If anyone has any questions, be it private or public, please feel free to get in touch with me. And just be breast aware, and tell your husband, your boyfriend, your sons to be breast aware too. Once you hit puberty, you are at risk. So it's not just a female illness. Okay, I'm gonna end it there because I feel like I've been rambling on for ages today. I can't remember if there's anything I need to mention again. Like and subscribe, obviously, if you've enjoyed the podcast. The format was a little bit different today, so apologies for that. If you were looking for a cultural segment, because there wasn't one. do join in our Ravelry group, because if you do, you're going to be eligible for the birthday prize draws that are happening on a weekly basis. On the weeks that I don't have a podcast, I will just PM you on Ravelry. But yeah, Phyllis, get in touch with me. You're our first winner. And that's about it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all again in a fortnight's time. Bye.